Hey beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of Astro Analysis. We'll be looking at the chart for August 3rd to 9th, 2020, speaking all things astrology, hosted by yours truly, Shakima. Stay tuned. Hey beautiful people, it's your girl Shakima. I'm just stopping in for today's Astro Analysis live. A little bit late, but doing good. I just wanted to do the reading for us for this week in terms of the astro forecast that we're going to be having for this week. It should be very, very interesting. We're doing a lot at the minute, which is nice. We're doing a lot right now, so it's good to just see what's going on with collective consciousness. So it's an interesting week this week because we're starting the week yet again, much like we did with the Cancer new moon 2 weeks ago. We're starting this week with the Aquarius full moon, and it's pretty explosive, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's going to give us an interesting dynamic in terms of finding our feelings, our emotions to be a little bit complicated, because the moon in Aquarius is a real strong sense of freedom and liberation. So there'll be a real desire for us to basically just kind of like make sure that our emotions are at a place where it's kind of expressive and flowing with the tides. When we're sort of like in groups, this sort of energy may be a little bit easier for us to sort of understand our feelings, because we can sort of free ourselves from just negative emotions like fear and anger and jealousy, and we'll be able to see it come up in group dynamics a little bit better, and we'll be able to identify what those feelings are within ourselves a little bit better when we're in group situations. So it's definitely a very, very interesting time for us as we navigate through this Aquarius full moon, because we are closing out cycles this week, guys. Giving some snaps for that one. So we're closing out cycles this week. The moon does go into Pisces on Wednesday morning around about 2:28 a.m. Here in the UK, so that's GMT time. So I guess between today and tomorrow, we're really going to be shifting the path that we're on. There's going to be a lot of root chakra activation, and it's really going to give us an opportunity to be able to really dive deep into our true sense of self and feelings about what that self is. Our throat chakra is definitely also going to be activated throughout the process as well. So the aspects of the avatar that's going to be impacted by this moon transit are the calf, ankles, shin, anchovies, forearm muscles, and the thyroid hormones. And the thyroid hormones is usually attached to the throat chakra. So we may navigate from time to time through self-esteem, I wouldn't say issues, but challenges, like really just being able to identify where we can get stronger in our sense of self and how to be able to navigate through some of the stuff that may come up. I'm just going to pull the chart for this Aquarius full moon so that we can have a little look and see exactly what this Aquarius full moon is going to be giving to us, which is nice. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to be with the situation. So yeah, just looking at it. So the sun's opposing the moon. So emotions and feelings are going to be the opposite of what our ego is kind of, telling us as we're navigating through the energies of this Aquarius full moon. Our ego may be saying one thing, our feelings may be saying another thing. So it's important to be able to just be completely open, honest, and transparent with yourself, because this Aquarius full moon, with that kind of aspect where the sun is opposing the moon, we're going to sort of find it a little bit, hey beautiful, we're going to find it a little bit conflicting, trying to be able to honor our feelings, because bearing in mind, like sometimes the ego can be a little bit, and when I say the ego, we have like many aspects of the ego. So our human ego may be a little bit scared of vulnerability at times, and with this Aquarius full moon, it's actually asking us to go deeper within our feelings and observe those feelings and really express those feelings and lay certain feelings to rest that may not necessarily be serving us. So that's just something to bear in mind, because the sun opposing the moon can also be quite conflicting, especially with relationships with close family members in particular. So relationships with like our parents, or parents' relationships with their children of the opposite sex even, can be a little bit challenging to navigate through this type of energy. So that's just something to bear in mind. We've also got the sun squaring Uranus as well, with the aspects of the full moon in Aquarius today. So this aspect, it does kind of give us an opportunity to really identify our individuality. And it's really one of those things that is kind of, we have to be careful basically not to find ourselves going down the path of being too selfish, by wanting to be too eccentric, right? Everybody is an individual in their own right, so it's just about making sure that you're expressing your individuality in a tactful manner. That's the way that I'm hearing it. Be gentle with others, be gentle with their process as well. Definitely express yourself and allow for your self-esteem to be elevated in the process of this Aquarius full moon energy, but just be mindful of how you're communicating that version of yourself, because you don't want to show up as one of those people, right, that are basically saying, look at me, look how much I've achieved, you've done nothing. And you may not even be saying that to a person, but by not necessarily acknowledging their growth or their goals, or the challenges that they've overcome as well, it may show up, or they may feel that way within themselves, just because they're not necessarily getting the same level of encouragement that you're giving to yourself. So practice whatever it is that you're giving to yourself, be open to sharing that with someone else as well. And I think that you'll find that it will help for their own personal growth as well, because a lot of the times, right, we're growing, and in our relationships we might find ourselves growing apart from people because we're growing, and we're not letting them know, hey, by the way, I'm growing in this direction, and we're busy kind of just focusing on the direction that we're going in. But communication's key, especially when we're going through these 2020 awakenings. Have been massive, guys. It's been massive. Like, so many people have been awakened to their true self, they've been awakened to their inner calling, and at this time it's like really unnerving for us to be able to really express certain things to people, but it's about making sure that you're taking people along for the journey instead of telling them, hey, I've outgrown you, deal with it. It doesn't work like that. It's more a case of, if these are people that you want to keep in your life, you have to allow for them to, you kind of have to teach them the rhythm of the current of your waves. Let me kind of like break that down and break down the construct of that. It's like you're swimming in one direction and the current of the ocean is taking you in one direction, right? And you want for those people to be able to come with you in the direction that you're going in. And you have to basically teach them what you're learning as you're learning the rhythm of the currents of the ocean that you're sort of in. So as you're navigating through your emotions, just let the people around you know where you are, what you're going through. Allow for them to be able to be a companion to you on the journey, and also equally be a companion for them on the journey as well. Because I'm seeing that, with the sun squaring up with Uranus, a lot of the times we want to be teachers, but the best teachers are those that are able to learn, because we're all teaching and learning in the process. So one thing that you may be able to teach another, they'll probably be able to teach you something else in another aspect of your life. And you might learn a lot about yourself by your experiences with other people, and just by being able to observe. What I'd say as well with this kind of energy, you don't want to be too defensive, because sometimes when, the universe is giving us an opportunity to learn things about ourselves, we're so fixed in our ego, right? We're like, no, I'm this way. You've got me all wrong. But the reality is, you may feel that you're a certain type of way, but are you projecting that out there into the universe? Are you in alignment with that version of your intention that you're kind of focusing on? Because a lot of the times our intentions are one thing and our actions may be completely different. And by being able to communicate with people, they'll be able to say, hey, I get that this may be your intention, but this is actually how you're showing up in my experience of you. Where is it that we can meet somewhere in the middle so that you can actually show up in the way that you intend to? And I feel like this Aquarius full moon is going to give us the opportunity to have so many more of those types of conversations, so that we can learn a lot about ourselves in the process. Another thing that Spirit's kind of like pointing my eyes to, so the moon's also squaring up with Uranus as well. So this kind of aspect astrologically does bring people feeling that they've been wronged in certain ways, and that's something to just keep in mind. And that's one of the things that I was saying just now. Take your walls down, guys, because that wall is basically creating a divide within your relationships as well. It is basically pushing people that you don't mean to out of your experience. And the reality is, your intention is to actually draw them closer, but they can't get to you if your wall is up. Do you see what I'm saying? It's literally like they have to climb the wall of China to actually get into your heart space. So just be mindful of that as you're navigating through the energies of this Aquarius full moon, because it is going to be like a fairly big transit for us to navigate through. And I feel like Spirit is trying to bless us like tenfold, guys. I really just want to put it across, because even in the back of my mind, I'm hearing, we want to bless you. So there are blessings that are intended for you. It's almost like it's signed, sealed, delivered. It's got your name, your address on it, but for some reason, it's almost like because you've got the door closed, basically. You've got the door closed to that possibility because it may be a little bit more challenging than you would have liked for it to be, or it may be more challenging than you were hoping that it was going to be, or maybe you were slightly naive, because that's how they're putting it across to me. You were slightly naive in thinking that it was going to be as easy as you wanted for it to be, just because your intention is that. It's not just about the intention, it's about making sure that your actions, your words, your thought process, your mannerisms and behaviors are falling into alignment with that intention, so that that's naturally what manifests as your new norm, right? Another aspect that I'm also sort of seeing in the space is that Mercury is also opposing Saturn, right? And with this kind of aspect, we kind of like get into this space where we're so serious all the time. You know, everything is, thank you, beautiful people. It's almost like we're in that place mentally where we're living in our minds and we're taking things so seriously, and the universe is literally just having a laugh at our expense. So find the humor in some of the things that you're going through. Somebody might say something to trigger you or kind of like piss you off, for lack of a better way of putting it, but you still have an option of how you choose to respond in that moment. You can choose to react to that, or you can choose to laugh it off, and you'd be surprised to see their reaction just by you being able to laugh it off. They're actually going to be able to shift their perspective as well, because they now know, okay, that's not a button that I can push on that person, you know. And it's one of those things as well where you've got to keep it in mind, right? If they can't push certain buttons, they don't have access to certain parts of you. And if they don't have access to certain parts of you, especially parts of you that you're still going through the process of healing, it actually allows for you to be empowered in that moment. So consider these experiences with other people a moment of empowerment for yourself, and forget what it is that they are or are not learning in their experiences of themselves. You're not here to focus on anybody else's lessons but your own. I mean, some people you're here to really be able to be a companion to them, but for other people that aren't necessarily willing to accept your companionship or wanting your companionship, you don't need to overexert yourself trying to be something to them that they didn't ask you to be. You know, another thing that I'm seeing as well is that Mars is also squaring up with Jupiter. This kind of aspect can cause us to be very reckless in terms of the way that we react to people. So that's something to bear in mind, because Mars is the god of war, you know. So sometimes you might be very, very highly sensitive and highly emotional to certain things that people are saying, but the universe is actually giving you an opportunity to expand on your ability to be emotionally grounded, is probably the best way that I can put it. You know, with this kind of aspect, we get to a place where we're kind of learning how to develop the branches of our relationships and build bridges where people may be burning bridges, right? But it's a choice. It's a choice that we can make, whether or not we want to be able to engage in building a bridge and allowing for this bridge to stay open, just in case they decide that they want to come out of their own selfishness, just in case they decide that they want to come out of their own hurt, their own pain, their own trauma. Because a lot of the times when we're engaging with people, you have to bear in mind that we're all sort of broken to some extent, and it's just a case of identifying what parts of their brokenness you're actually engaging with. So just be tactful. One of the other harmonious aspects, just to sort of like put a positive light on everything that we're navigating through, one of the more harmonious aspects is Neptune sextiling Pluto. This is actually going to give us an opportunity to set up long-lasting effects of peacemaking. So if we are the type of person that is about keeping the peace, this is going to give us an opportunity when we learn, you know, how to be able to keep the peace in certain situations that may be far more challenging than we had anticipated. It actually allows for us to be able to utilize that as a tool for the long term. And I feel like with that kind of aspect as well, it enhances our ability to build a sense of being the peacemaker and allowing for that to permeate out into a global scale as well. So you may go out into the world and find that the same thing that you may have been dealing with at home, and you learn how to make peace with that shadow of somebody else or even yourself, you're now engaging with that with somebody else in society, and you're like, I actually have a tool for this. So I feel like the universe is really giving us an opportunity to identify what tools are going to be most beneficial. But the most important thing to remember is that it's important to stay open, because when we sort of put our walls up and we get defensive, we're very limited in our capacity to learn, because at that point we think that we know it all. And when we know everything, we know nothing. That's just the reality. If you think that you've stopped learning, then you won't get an opportunity to be able to actually learn more about yourself. I'm going to pull some cards to see, because the moon is going to be in Aquarius up until early Wednesday morning. So I'm going to pull some cards just to see what the energy of the Aquarius, the moon in Aquarius, is going to be doing for us between Monday and Tuesday. So just looking at it, and I keep getting this card a lot to say, like, Lumeria is happening. You know, heaven is really being created on earth. Heaven's a vibration, so we have to be able to tune into the high realms of our consciousness and call back our power, protect ourselves. If you have a look at this card, right, I don't know if you can kind of like see it. She got her hands up, but she's still open in other places. So protect yourself in the sense that you can identify what are your boundaries. If somebody triggers you, what is a response that you automatically have in place for that? And take it from there, because you're already doing it. It's just a case of you fine-tuning and tweaking small changes that needs to take place. And that's going to come through observation, observing your mental based on your emotional triggers. How do these emotions, so for instance, when you feel selfish, what kind of thought process do you have when you feel in that vibration? Observe those things, and then you'll get a better sense of understanding when you're in the vibration of being selfish, and what's an alternative that you can utilize to navigate your way out of that kind of embodiment of self, if it's not something that you're intending, basically. What is the overall guidance for us whilst the moon is in Aquarius? Okay. The overall guidance for us, and it's interesting because the overall guidance is no. So we're being told no. It's about waiting and postponing and just pausing for a minute and just saying no, because I feel like the universe is going to be saying no to us for a few things as we navigate through this Aquarius full moon. And why I say that is because at the bottom of the deck it's saying yes. So this is very contradictory. So externally you're saying no, but internally what you really mean is yes. So what you need to do is be completely honest with yourself. That no is technically actually a yes, and that's okay. You don't have to put your walls up in the same way because you know that that's not going to be serving to you. Allow yourself to just be okay with the yes and see where that can take you. See what opportunities that brings to you. See what doors that opens for you just by being open to a yes in the space. Right? So we move into the energies of Wednesday. So on Wednesday, we've got the moon going into Pisces, and Pisces is pretty much the final the final sign in the zodiac. So we're closing out cycles between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, going into Friday afternoon as well. And it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm just going to have a little look and see what's actually sort of going on. So whilst the moon is actually in Pisces, we're going to be really quite sensitive and perceptive to our surroundings between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So just be mindful of that. You might find yourself being a little bit more emotional because of the fact that the moon is in Pisces, and it's going to be activating the feet, toes, pineal gland, endorphin, and melatonin. And these types of hormones, right, endorphin and melatonin is really kind of like that euphoric state of being. And you may find yourself in situations where people might burst your bubble, for lack of a better way of putting it. Okay, so you just have to be very observant of what is going on inside of you, because it's not so much about just what's going on outside of you. It's about how your internal hormones are actually reacting to what's going on externally, and it's going to be very, very important for you. If you engage in creative expressions of self, or dive deeper into your spiritual practices during that time between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you'll actually benefit a great deal from this kind of energy, because it's allowing for, again, just an opportunity for you to astral travel a little bit easier. You're able to tap into the 5D with a little bit more heightened sensitivity in that realm as well. So you can very much utilize this energy to your benefit. What I'm seeing as well, just pulling up the chart for you guys to see what's going on. Basically from tomorrow onwards, so from Tuesday right the way up to Sunday, it's actually much better for any surgeries that you may have booked. It means that your recovery time will be a little bit quicker. It also means that any sort of wounds that you've been working on healing will start to really be able to, how can I put it? The healing's going to be speeded up, for lack of a better way of putting it, because I'm trying to find my words, but that's probably the best way that I can put it to you guys. So looking at what's going on when the moon is in Pisces. So the main thing that I'm seeing is that the sun is actually trining Mars. Mars is in Aries at the minute. So this is a really harmonious aspect that gives us the desire to set objectives and the ability to reach the goals. that we're sort of setting for ourselves. So Wednesday is probably a really good time where we'll be able to start to see a lot of manifestation coming into place, where we're kind of like, okay, you know, I've set this goal in place and it's kind of like happening like this. It's just happening like clockwork. And you're at this place now where you're a lot more assertive in terms of your energy. You're kind of competitive in a lot of different ways, but utilize that energy to compete with yourself, compete with the last version of yourself, compete with the last version of yourself that wasn't necessarily fulfilling your goals in the same way that you're able to in this kind of space now, instead of projecting that kind of energy out there. It may sort of leave you feeling a little bit impatient because you kind of want to get everything done, like within that short window. But it's just identifying what is most important, you know. One of the things that we do in NLP when we're sort of dealing with like SMART goals and setting goals is about identifying what's relevant, and so what's important versus what's not important, and what is you know, what is something that needs to be done. So what's urgent versus what's not urgent. So focus on the things that are important and urgent during the windows of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, instead of just focusing on what is overall important, because some things may be important but not urgent, and some things may be urgent but not important. So identify what are the things that are most important, that is very urgent, that needs to be done. Okay. What I'm also seeing is that Jupiter is also conjuncting Pluto. So with this kind of aspect as well, it brings a certain sort of contradictory energy as well. So we'll find ourselves fighting for truth, so that we can gain power. There's power in the truth. There's power in our truth. That's what I want to say, because that's what they're saying to me. There's power in our truth. The underlying truth for everybody is different, because truth is subjective based on wherever a person is viewing their experience, right? It's kind of like when you're in a situation and there's like two people involved, and then they say there's three sides to every story, and the truth is actually the overall universal truth. But your truth may not be the same as somebody else's truth, and you have to be able to accept that. You have to be able to honor that, and honor your own truth in the process. Them sort of telling their story doesn't take anything away from your truth. It's just that you guys were simply engaging in the same experience from two different lens or perspective, and that's okay, beloveds. Another thing that I'm sort of like seeing with this aspect is, you know, we're really going to be diving deep into aspects of the psychology within politics and religion, and just our artistic expression of self. So even if you're somebody that likes to do creative projects, psychologically you'll be strategizing on how to get certain things done. Your pineal gland is really going to be activating within the 5D to show you certain things, particularly with this kind of energy as well, with this aspect. And another thing that I'm sort of like seeing with this aspect is if you are really tapping more into the Pluto energy, destructive forces are going to win. So you have to balance your, because Jupiter is more of a beneficent presence in the Astros, where it's more like about abundance and blessings and prosperity, whereas Pluto, obviously, that's the god of the underworld. So we'll be dealing with a lot of subconscious patterns and sequences, but if we can really look at the blessings within those situations, we'll actually be able to tap into our power. So this is also going to be a great, as I mentioned before, guys, a great aspect for us to be able to travel into the 5D and observe a lot of, you know, what's going on beneath the surface within ourselves as well. So utilize it as an opportunity to see that, what's going on beneath the surface when it comes to yourself. Another aspect that I'm also seeing in the chart is Saturn is also conjuncting Pluto as well. And with Saturn sort of conjuncting Pluto, it brings a strong sense of self-control. So you will get the opportunity to make decisions based on your free will. It's not just going to be you feeling, you know, just kind of like you're being pulled from pillar to post. This is where you get an opportunity to decide what you want to do in the situation, to decide how you want to engage, whether or not you want to actually engage in certain situations, and you get to decide where you want to place your energy. It's very, very important. This is your greatest currency that you will ever have in the 3D. So where you place your energy is where your manifestation will be cultivated. So just bear that in mind. One of the things that I'm seeing with this kind of energy where Saturn is conjuncting Pluto, you'll find yourself being very, very ambitious, and you'll feel like you're able to endure a little bit more. So you might find yourself being a little bit burnt out, but you're like, you know what, I think I've got another like 10, 15, maybe even half an hour left inside of me to give to this situation. And it will give you an opportunity to have this profound transformation and this personal development of change when it comes to your personality, just by you being able to observe, okay, what are the variables that are within my control within the situation, and how can I act accordingly based on those. This kind of aspect is particularly great for Scorpios in particular, where they'll be able to really get charged up and activated, not just within the third eye, where the pineal gland is sort of like really activating our ability to travel into the 5D, but also their solar plexus will really be able to get a supercharge from this as well. People with this kind of aspect, I'm also going to say, you know, Capricorns can also benefit from this kind of energy as well, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so it may be able to get some sort of benefit from the situation as well. But you'll be able to delight in just thoughts of self-reflection with this kind of aspect, where you'll really be able to reflect on yourself, think about what it is that you're doing, how you can actually move forward, being true to who you claim to be, most importantly. Okay, let's go ahead and pull a card and see what is the overall energy for us as we navigate through the moon in Pisces. What is the overall energy, Spirit? So for a lot of us, again, it seems like protection's kind of like the main thing. Protection would be behind us at this point. So it seems like you know, Monday and Tuesday we may have our guards up. Basically, we may kind of like be hiding behind the walls. And I want to say this as well. When we hide behind the walls, we're actually hiding from ourselves. We're hiding from our true selves, and people don't get the opportunity to really be able to like engage with our true selves as well. And that's just something to really take into consideration. When you push people out, you're not just pushing people out, you're pushing a part of yourself away from yourself. So just bear that in mind, because coming into, you know, the energies of the Pisces moon on Wednesday, Thursday, and early Friday until Friday afternoon, I think until around about just after 1 here in the UK, you're being advised to just take a break. Take a break from literally just keeping your walls up all the time and feeling like you need to be the high priestess all the time and you need to lead all the time. Take a break and actually observe where you can make compromises, where you can actually be initiated into somebody else's reality, where you can actually be initiated into somebody else's world. And see just how you can be triggered to go deeper within yourself by observing how you respond to those triggers as well. I'm seeing that this is definitely going to be one of those situations where our soul tribe is probably going to be one of the areas that we're most tested with, I guess. We're going to sort of find ourselves even withdrawing from situations when it comes to our soul tribe to be able to just fill back up our own well instead of constantly just kind of like pouring things out. So even though our walls are down on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, our walls are down to ourselves and we're pouring back into ourselves. And we're getting an opportunity to really figure out what are the new boundaries that we've set for ourselves and how we can actually embody some of those boundaries. Am I giving too much in this situation? Am I pouring too much out of myself when I know that I don't have enough to give? And if I do have enough to give, can I be a little bit more kinder? Can I be a little bit more patient with the process? It's very important for us to ask ourselves these questions, guys. Okay. What is the overall guidance for us when the moon goes into Pisces? The card's fallen for us, guys. But the overall energy is to answer the call, guys. Okay? Answer the call. Your inner self has been calling you. Your inner self has been calling you literally for the longest. And I want to say that between Monday and Tuesday, the walls that you have will slowly start to dissipate. So between today and tomorrow, the walls will start to dissipate and you'll be able to get a little bit more connected to yourself. You'll be able to get a little bit more connected to your true self. And by your true self, I mean your super ego. I mean your higher self, your higher state of consciousness. You'll be able to tap into that part of yourself a little bit more effortlessly by Wednesday, Thursday, and early Friday, with the moon being in Pisces. The actual card that we have for the guidance for us is actually fallen, so I'm going to go and grab that. So the card for us is you're already doing it, guys. You're already doing it. Stop overthinking what it needs to be, what it has to be. You don't need to put your walls up. You don't need to barricade yourself behind your own perception of what things should or shouldn't be, because listen, whatever you think it should or shouldn't be is irrelevant, because you've got what you've got, right? That's the reality. And your ideologies on what it should be is simply a perfectionistic approach to a universal law that is null and void. Should and shouldn't, that's not how the universe sees things. The universe sees what is going to be necessary for the overall best good. So instead of saying this is how it should be, ask yourself, is it necessary for it to be this way? And take it from there. Okay, let's have a little look and see what is going on for us towards the end of the week, guys. So the moon actually goes into Aries on Friday at 1:05 in the afternoon. Woo woo! We're starting a new cycle for this weekend, guys, which is dope as. I'm loving that. So with this kind of energy, right, when the moon goes into Aries, it's almost like we're getting this new sense of clarity on who we are, and what we want to be able to do whilst we're here, and how we want to be able to express ourselves, and just all of these awesome things, right? And when the moon is in Aries, there's like a real sense of uncertainty that can sort of show up, and it's kind of like you want to be able to solve problems faster than what's actually natural, and you're not meant to rush the process. There is no deadline. There is the divine timeline, but there is no deadline. You might find yourself going into a dead end by trying to rush the process of something that hasn't been divinely orchestrated for it to come down and manifest into the 3D realm at that particular time. So patience is going to be very, very important whilst we're navigating through the energies of the weekend, because it's about slowing down so that we can decide what we want to do strategically and approaching the situation at a comfortable pace versus rushing the process, being uncomfortable, allowing for other people to just be dragged along for the process and then be uncomfortable as well, just so that we can say that we've done it. And what's the point in that? Where's the fun in that, actually? You know, because you're actually just going to create so much more issues for yourself long term. And the universe is simply seeking to help us to really just learn how to be a little bit more, how can I put it? A little bit more open, a little bit more honest, a little bit more hopeful, see our ability to persevere against the odds and the challenges. But we have to be patient with ourselves. We have to be patient with the process. And sometimes things just work itself out. That's one thing to bear in mind. Sometimes you're kind of like pushing it and forcing it and telling yourself that you're the only reason that it's going to be better or different or whatever it is that you're telling yourself, when the truth is, maybe it's just a knot that needs to work itself out, and it doesn't actually need you to do anything except to be present in the moment and let the energy flow through you. Okay? The aspects of the avatar that's being impacted by this moon transit are the head, teeth, tongue, striated muscles, penis, gallbladder, arteries, and blood. And whenever the blood is charged, we know that that's DNA activation. So we're definitely going to be connecting to, for lack of a better way of putting it, whenever the blood is activated, a lot of ancestral wounds does come up, because we're not just dealing with our own stuff, we're also then dealing with ancestral baggage. We're dealing with ancestral karma at that point. Sorry guys, I'm getting hot. Ancestral baggage and karma at that point. So it's just something to bear in mind. Between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we are going to be sort of bringing up a lot of past traumas potentially. And it's going to be very, very interesting for us to navigate through this kind of uncertainty. You know, I think what I do want to say is, if there's a desire to rush your healing or force your healing, understand that there's deeper levels to it than that. And it's not just about your healing, but it's about the generations before you and how far they came within their healing, and you being able to identify where is it that they dropped the ball so that you can pick the baton up and move with the process from there, flow with the process from there, instead of you assuming that you're doing it all on your own, because that's not necessarily true. I think a lot of the times our ancestors get a lot of flack for, you know, what they didn't do or how they're not doing certain things, but we have to take into consideration as well, there's so much that they did do, there's so much that they have given us, there's so much changes that they have basically poured into us at a cellular level, but because we're here to do different things and we're here to make different changes, it's easy for us to look down at the changes that they made, because we're like, it should have been more. But the reality is, you're here to do that more. So why should it have been more when God already had the intention to manifest you into reality? You know, that was your job. It was never theirs. So that being said, guys, let's utilize our ability to just be strategic about how we're navigating through the process of the energies over the course of the weekend. I'm just going to pull the chart up for us and have a look and see what the energies are like between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So what I am seeing in the energies, the sun is still squaring Uranus, so we're still dealing with idealistic, selfish kind of egotistical energy. we're kind of like guarding our independence very, very carefully and not being too considerate. So that's just something to bear in mind if you're navigating through that energy with someone, or if you're kind of giving that kind of energy to someone. You have to be open with just observing the process of where you can be a little bit more assertive with your own boundaries with yourself. Boundaries aren't just for other people and what they need to kind of like do or hold on to, but it's also for you to be able to kind of say, okay, this is how I choose to respond to the situation, this is how I choose to engage in this particular situation, and this is why it's important to me. Another thing that I'm kind of like seeing in the space as well, the moon is also squaring up with Jupiter, and this aspect causes constant increasing expectations. Basically, we're constantly like, I need this, I need that. We're constantly seeking outside of ourselves for people to be able to kind of like give us emotional comfort and show us that they care, and really just tend to our emotions. But this is really a time for you to be able to learn how to tend to the own emotions of your avatar, to tend to the own emotions of what your avatar is needing to be able to rationalize its experiences over the course of the weekend. It's important for you to just sit with yourself and ask yourself, how can you be there for yourself on a deeper level, at a deeper capacity? Because this is where you'll be able to engage in solidifying your relationship with self. A lot of the times we want to be able to have these relationships with other people, and we want for those relationships with other people to make sense, right? We want for them to be able to complete us, and we're not necessarily at that place where we've made that completion for ourselves just yet. So we're always going to like blame them for not meeting our expectations, when the truth is we haven't actually met our own expectations, which is why they're kind of showing up in our reality in that way, because we're wanting them to do something for us that we haven't yet done for ourselves. So that's something to just kind of like bear in mind with that kind of aspect. Another thing that I'm also seeing in the chart as well, the moon is also trining Mercury. So this is more of a harmonious aspect when it comes to the chart. It actually gives us an opportunity to retain good memory. So we might find ourselves recalling a lot of like nostalgic old school kind of memories. There may even be people from the past that will show up to kind of remind us of certain experiences, or we may be reliving the past with certain people, talking about, you know, certain experiences that we have. It is a really deep aspect of ourselves that allows for us to express ourselves in a way where we're able to understand each other. So that's good. This kind of aspect also actually helps us to become better teachers, better journalists, better psychologists. So we'll be able to observe the psychology and the inner workings of what's sort of going on at a within the psyche of the people around us as well. And this is kind of like where our intelligence, both emotionally and mentally, will actually show up as well over the course of the weekend. So that's something to look out for. That's definitely a positive there. And yeah, just looking at the chart, there seems to be a lot of similar aspects on the chart that's sort of showing up. Another harmonious aspect is Jupiter sextiling Neptune. So we'll kind of be able to really sit within our compassionate aspect of ourselves. And it's really great. This kind of aspect is really ideal for reformers. It's great for artistic visionists, and religious visions as well actually do very well in this kind of aspect, where there may be certain, you know, times where we might find ourselves drawing closer to God during this kind of transit. You'll also find yourself where the visions that you're kind of like having, they can be suppressed or they can grow stronger throughout the process if you can just allow for yourself to express them. This aspect is also very great for just being able to have, you know, how can I put it? That connection to the cosmos. This is where you'll really be able to tune in and tap into yourself at a deeper level, like I was saying, and gain a lot more insight into your true self, to be fair. Okay, so we're going to close out the space now with a final card to see what the energies are like for us during this the moon in Aries starting from Friday. Okay, let's have a little look and see what's actually happening with that. So looking at it, it seems like coming into the space where like literally living in conviction of our warrior self, you know. I feel like the week will build us up to be more of a warrior within ourselves, and it's kind of like light warriors. You know, we're working that light, we're working the magic of our light, and coming into the weekend as well, again, we're just learning how to take a break from constantly wanting to lead and learning where it's necessary to compromise, especially with our soul tribe. So we may be reintegrating back within our soul tribe by the weekend, which is a great place to be with the situation as well. So it's a really, really good time for you to take some time out between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, where you can, possibly Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and know that you'll be able to reconvene with your soul tribe over the course of the weekend, because the Astro supports that. Okay. Again, we had this card before. Answer the call, guys. That's what the universe is asking for you to do over the course of the weekend. So the soul tribe is going to require your assistance at times. They're going to require your light. They're going to require the resources of your light. And it's important for you to be able to answer your soul's calling, because you might just learn something new about your own skills, your own passions, your own ability to heal yourself and others. And it's a really great time, again, for you to just sit in that place and knowing when to say no and knowing when to say yes. Okay, beloveds? So that is all from me in the space, guys. I don't want to make it too long. I'm going to love you guys and leave it there for you guys. Just a note to you guys, I do a Ho'oponopono prayer group, which is really awesome, because we basically just sit into the space and pour love into collective consciousness, and we talk about the things that we love our brothers and sisters of collective consciousness for, the things that we want to forgive them for, the things that we may want to forgive ourselves for, the things that we want to say we're sorry for, and the things that we just want to thank each other for. So if that sounds like something that is right up your street, I do those via Zoom. I'll be able to put a post out about this at some point as well. So you can, hit me up, DM me if you guys are interested in joining the group. At the minute, it runs for about an hour on Tuesdays, but that's because it's a handful of people at the minute, and we're just expressing ourselves and just allowing for the healing to take place. So if you're interested, give me a shout, guys. And if you guys are also actually interested in booking a personal reading or an astrological forecast for a particular season in life that you're looking forward to, solar returns, all that kind of stuff, then again, you can either DM me or you can utilize the Book Now tab on my profile, and you'll be able to get access to all of that awesomeness. On that note, the guys are asking me to leave this space, so I'm going to love you guys and leave it there for you guys. Thank you guys for being awesome as per usual. Full joy the week, and until the next time, namaste, beloveds. God bless. Mwah. Take care, guys. That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for more.